Good morning. How is everyone doing this morning? Excellent. It's so great to see so many friends and colleagues here in one room at Commercial UAV Expo. Thank you to Lee. Thank you to the whole Commercial UAV Expo team for this incredible show that we have here over the next few days. It's so exciting, and welcome to all of you. My name is Lisa Ellman, and as Lee said, I wear two hats in our industry. I co-founded with Gretchen West here with me and serve as the executive director of the Commercial Drone Alliance, and I chair the global UAS practice at Hogan Lovells Law Firm. So that we can all get a sense of who's in the room. How many here are active members of the commercial drone or advanced air mobility industries? Okay, lots of folks. Manufacturers in particular? Okay, good number. Operators? Lots of operators. End users? Public safety? I know we have lots of public safety folks. Of course, government. All right. Well, despite the varying organizational pursuits of all of us in this room, we all are here together because we share a common goal. We want to bring the benefits of UAS technology to communities across the country and around the world. We are here together this week because advancements in hardware and information technology have prompted an aviation revolution. Drones have become vital tools that create jobs, spur growth, protect the environment, deliver goods, inspect critical infrastructure, expand equitable and efficient access to medicines, strengthen our economy, and enhance public safety. The advancement of drone technology benefits all Americans, including those in underserved and difficult-to-reach communities, and democratizes aviation, opening new mobility opportunities for all. We all understand that pioneering these innovative aviation technologies is important for our economy, for safety, for the environment, for national security, for equity, and of course, for America's continuing global leadership in aviation. But while the technology has moved quickly forward, policies and regulatory frameworks here in the United States have lagged behind. Drones, as we all have experienced, often remain subject to application of incongruous regulations designed for crewed aircraft. And despite the best efforts of many in the federal government, and there really are many in the federal government who are working very, very hard to integrate UAS, the FAA continues to view UAS integration as, in its own words, a long road ahead and a significant challenge. Progress towards safe, scalable drone integration has been slow. And we have all been feeling this, that America is falling behind other countries, allies, and competitors. So while everyone in this room is excited about the potential for this technology to change the world, there has also been a continuing frustration with the pace of enabling regulation here in the United States. Now, regulatory challenges are present anytime you introduce a new technology into an existing environment. But with collaboration between government and industry, coupled with creative thought by all of those folks here in this room, it is solvable. The Commercial Drone Alliance is working hand in hand with the government and industry to enable this industry to scale in the United States and to grow US global leadership in advanced aviation. This isn't the government's sole responsibility. It's not industry's sole responsibility. We all collectively have a critical role to play. Let's start with the government. There are some critical steps that the federal government can take in the next few months to signal that US leadership in advanced aviation is a national priority. First, and that was a wonderful message from Representative Dana Titus, that we have worked tirelessly over the last year with her and her staff and other members of Congress and their staffs, both the House of Representatives and with the Senate, with Republicans and with Democrats, to promote an FAA reauthorization bill that will move our industry forward. Both the House and Senate versions of the bill contain important provisions seeking to expedite a beyond visual line of sight rulemaking, streamline regulatory processes, restructure authorities at the FAA to align responsibility with authority, and so much more. Please join our panel later today with congressional staffers as we talk about what Congress's FAA reauthorization process means for all of you, all of us in this room, because we all have an important stake in this bill. Second, the executive branch should establish at the highest levels of government that it is the policy of the United States to lead the world in the development and deployment of uncrewed and autonomy-enabled aircraft. Other countries are certainly doing this, and to keep up, the US government must do so as well. Finally, the FAA must streamline its processes and enable scaled operations in the short term, as other countries have been doing for years. We have certainly seen some welcome progress over the last year, and even over the last few months, which we greatly appreciate. And believe me, I recognize the frustration that many have, but I can assure you, there is a lot of progress that is happening behind the scenes at the FAA that we as a community may not just see on a daily basis. But we have certainly seen a lot of activity, and that is encouraging. And as I said earlier, it's not just the federal government's role. It's industry must do our part as well. Innovators must take the time to educate regulators, policy makers, and members of our communities about our technology. If you're not yet part of the Commercial Drone Alliance, and it's wonderful to see so many of our members here in this room, I would invite you to join us as we collaborate across the industry with other associations, with other stakeholders to move this all forward. My Commercial Drone Alliance co-founder is here, as I mentioned, Gretchen West, as well as many others on our team. Find us. We'd love to talk with you about the important work that we are doing for this community. Now, there is an incredible amount of innovative entrepreneurial brainpower in this room. So as we're all here together this week, let's think about and communicate to policymakers. What do your companies need in order to scale? Is it federal regulation? Is it financial support? Community acceptance? Technology barriers? Or anything else? Now, how do you see this technology evolving? And what does that mean for all of us here collectively as we work to establish the digital and physical infrastructure necessary to enable this industry to scale? How does AI and autonomy factor in? And I'm excited to hear from our excellent keynote panel later this morning. How can the commercial drone industry leverage our collective success across vertical market sectors to drive innovation forward? And how does the policy environment impact your market success, if at all? And if not, what do you need for market success? And finally, how can we all work closely together to enable the industry to thrive safely and securely? What are we missing here? I, for one, cannot wait for these conversations this week, because together, industry and policymakers can unleash the benefits of this technology for the American public. We have an excellent turnout from the US government here this year, from the FAA, DHS, and more. And these folks traveled across the country to be here with all of us today because they are champions for UAS integration, the ones working at an executive level and behind the scenes to safely enable the growth of this marketplace. We appreciate all of you being here with us this week. Thank you all. And we have an amazing turnout from industry as well. This is the biggest show we've ever had, and we're so thrilled. Folks who have traveled from all over the world, as we saw the map, to collaborate and to share experiences and to share best practices. So let's take the opportunity this week. We're all here together to discuss what's next for our industry. What's on the horizon for expanded operations? What does the FAA's remote ID rule mean for all of us? How is the UAS regulatory framework evolving? A crowd favorite session last year, shout out to Derek Hufty and Chris Doherty, who I believe are here, was featuring the FAA's waiver and exemption team, answering real questions. And this year, we will be able, again, to learn more about how the FAA reviews industry applications as companies continue to safely push the flight envelope forward with the FAA. How can drones continue to support public safety missions? And so much more. There's a role for all of us in this ecosystem to play as we work together to ensure US global leadership in the next generation of flight. And now let's kick off our program, led by an amazing keynote this morning. Please join me in welcoming the newly permanent FAA Associate Administrator for Aviation Safety, David Boulter, who has an exciting vision for our industry. David? Great. Good morning, David. Thank you so much for being here. So David, as I mentioned, is the FAA Associate Administrator for Aviation Safety. He's an experienced pilot and a veteran FAA executive whose deep commitment to safety and collaboration have proven invaluable while he has served in this role for an acting capacity for the last year, and it's just now in the last week or so.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, congratulations on your recent selection, and we're very excited to continue to work with you.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you all for being here. You shouldn't give pilots a movable chair here. So, you'll forgive me right up front because I'll want to do this. But anyway, it's just great to be here. Lisa, I'd just like to take a second. If our team could stand up, all the FAA folks, if you could just stand real quick. Take a good look around, all these folks that are here. And we have a booth out on the, if you've got questions, you got technical questions, or you got, as Lisa said, this is a collaborative process. So we really need you to reach out to us and tell us what you need, hey, we know we've been moving too slow in this space. I come from the op side of the house, so I ran the agency's airplanes for years, and it's about getting things done and opening the space for you. So I'll just start with, before we get to the questions, is that right in the agency's mission statement, it says, safest, most efficient National Airspace System. Sometimes we hang our hat on that safest and we don't always get to the efficient piece, right? It's a healthy balance that we say right up front as an agency that this is a balance. And our goal is to find that right balance of safety and efficiency. So, that's what our teams are engaged in doing. So I just want to start with that. And I'd love to, hopefully I'll see a bunch of you as I'm around all day. And over to you.
Sounds great. Well, wonderful. And thank you to all of your FAA folks for being here. We have such a great turnout. We really appreciate your hard work. So you're newly permanent in this role. What will change now that you are permanent in this role at AVS and no longer acting?
Well, as you know, that we had a little bit of a domino effect. Billy Nolan went to be the administrator, so it just kind of dominoes all the way up. I guess the big thing that changes really is anytime you have an organization that you're acting, it's hard to really look at the strategic pieces of it because you just don't want someone to come in behind you and then change direction. It's hard on employees. It's hard on the industry. So I think we'll see much more of a strategic focus. One of the things that we're talking about regularly, what do we need to do so that that we can be in the right place 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Look at those and what are the steps to get there? We know we can't write the rules for 10 years in the future, but what can we write today and move that forward? So I think a little bit more strategic. I think the tactical, we've done a pretty good job in the last year. Our teams are, we got great folks doing this. My job is to just try to give them permission to be innovative and keep that safety always at the forefront. But let's do risk-based decision making and things that are low risk. We need to do as many of those operations as we can.
Absolutely. And David, thank you so much for being back here. You were here a year ago when we had a great conversation and you were kind of more newly in the role. How have your priorities shifted, if at all? What are your priorities for the agency over the short term and the longer term?
Well, agency-wide, one of the things that you're seeing in the AAM space, and we're working in this in the drone space, is to make sure the agency has a policy across, right? We have many offices from environmental to all the AVS offices, air traffic. We've got to have an agency approach to this. There can't be, great, you got certified, but now you can't fly, or now you don't have environmental. I mean, all those things have to be brought together, and we have to look at those as a package to make sure that when we're ready to release a new area of operation, that all those things are in alignment, and they're a priority for the agency. So I think that's what I bring to the management board, and certainly and my peers, Tim Morrell and others who I work with on a daily basis. That will, we're continuing to build that out to make sure that we have an agency approach. Mm-hmm. And then, as you know, the department's looking across all of government approach to make sure that we really understand we can't. The worst thing for us to be is to be moving out on something and then another roadblock that we didn't see comes up. And I know you've had those in the past, and our goal is to really make sure that doesn't happen. The other priority is we're public servants. We owe you an answer. We may not owe you the answer you want, but we owe you an answer so you can make business decisions and move on. There's nothing worse, and I've been on the other side of the table for a better part of 25 years. There's nothing worse than just tell me no and I can move on, right? Or tell me yes and I can move on. But telling me nothing is not a great place for any of us. So my encouragement to the team is get answers, and we owe responsiveness. We don't owe you we owe you a response. We don't always owe you what exactly you want, because ultimately we have our responsibilities, and we have to ultimately take the responsibility for what we will allow in operations in the NAS. But we want to hear from you. We want to have a conversation with you, and then we owe you an answer. And really, just the big thing is, drones are going to operate in the National Airspace System. How can we collectively make sure that they are safe? Right? So back to that safety and efficiency. There's no keeping them out. So we're going to do this. How do we do this? How do we, as all of government and all of FAA approach, allow these operations? One thing I think that we're starting to look at a little bit differently, and Lisa, you mentioned it earlier. Last time I was on the stage, I think I've been in the job a whole 2 months maybe. Looking at the ag industry, right? Roughly, one of the things we looked at the management team in AVS is say, hey, wait a second, that's an industry that has between 10 and 13 deaths a year of ag pilots. And that's a low-risk operation from a UAS perspective. Why can't we push out a lot more of these and get these out there? And I think about 350 operators or so we've approved here recently to get thousands of drones out in a low-risk environment that can actually save lives. So, we can't look at this and say, this drone's a risk. We got to look at the whole system, the ecosystem, and say, this is actually a reduction in risk. We need to push these operations out. I know it's the same sort of thing in infrastructure inspection, towers, those types of things. We just need to look at that and say, hey, what's the public interest here? What's the overall risk? And how can we reduce risk using drones?
Absolutely, and you hit on such an important point there, David, because innovation and safety are not, they're two sides of the same coin, right? We're talking about making the airspace safer with many of these policies. So certainly welcome and are encouraged that folks in the FAA are recognizing that. And I know it's kind of a cultural thing where it's, innovation, well, there must be a lot of risk there. There needs to be a focus as well on how it's enhancing safety.
Well, and why I encourage the collaboration is that what we don't know, we think we consider high risk, right? The unknown is high risk, right?
Yeah.
So the more we can know, the more we can, be at conferences like this and hear from you, the more you can talk to us about what rulemaking looks like, what your operations look like. As Brandon says, Brandon's head of rulemaking here in the front row. So if you're wondering where the rules are, Brandon's the guy. But Brandon says to us, we need data to be able to do effective rulemaking, right? If we don't let anybody fly, we don't have any data, we can't do any rulemaking. So it's important to us to know, because once we know, then we realize what the risk is.
Absolutely. So speaking of data and speaking of enabling operations, last year, David, when we were here together, you announced the FAA's first ever approval of a UAS type certification for package delivery operations. I believe Matt Arnett, Jim O'Sullivan is here somewhere. There you are. Congratulations again. And I know that you all have been working behind the scenes on further enabling more operations, whether through exemptions or type certifications or other approvals. So what's the latest at the FAA? Anything that we should be excited about today?
Well, a couple things, right? First, I do want to congratulate Aerobotics they got their type certificate here the last couple of days. So please stand up and
stand up.
I can't
All
see
right.
I will tell you that and congratulations. I know it's been a long journey, and we talked a little bit before we came up here. Look, the last thing I want to do is come here once a year and only give you one TC, right? I mean, that's not nearly fast enough. So one thing about the team will know about me is Billy's favorite saying was "get stuff done." GSD, and we got 3 or 4, 2 or 3. I can't remember if it's 2 or 3 or 3 or 4, but right behind us, we're starting to pick up the pace on that, and we're looking at this, when we do rulemaking of where where in the continuum do we want to be, right? Safety continuum is a 777 on this side, you know, and amateur built on this side, right? You know, we got to make sure we got everybody placed in the right place in the continuum, right? And that continuum is important, and where we put that dot for, depending on your type of operation in a UAS, you know, you may be shifted slightly left or right on that continuum, but you're certainly not a 777. So we just need to recognize that and make sure that we've got the right rule set in place as we move forward rulemaking, so that we can ensure safety, but not make the process too painful. I know these early processes have been painful. That's one of those things of where we didn't know. We just keep asking for more because we're concerned about the risk. But we hope to pick up the pace. I think we're making some progress in that area. I won't even be mentioning it if I'm only going to have one next year if I get invited. So.
We would love to see more quickly. Hopefully now, I mean, with the Matternet approval, with the aerobotics approval, there have to be some lessons learned that the certification team can be incorporating.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the other thing is you saw the public notice, most of you, I'm sure, that we put out, that we were trying to look at 4 exemptions. Really, it's really around 3 buckets, right? Infrastructure inspection is important to us. Third-party unmanned traffic management, deconfliction of some kind, and package delivery, both with different types of sensors, right? So that for collision avoidance. So those are important to us. We put that notice out, and since then we've issued 3 exemptions against that, right? And the goal being that with shorter rulemaking, that we can get some exemptions that look. I think Lisa, I was probably 2 weeks into the job. I think we met with the Commercial Drone Alliance 15 months ago, I guess, and said, hey, we're going to try to template some of these so that we can do more summary grants. So that as Brandon reminds me, we can become a production line of summary grants once we get the right grant in place to start with. So. So Phoenix Air, we did an infrastructure a couple of weeks ago. We released that one. Today, UAvionics is an operator and with a third-party UTM system.
UAvionics team, congratulations.
So they were issued, I think today, right? Either today or early last week, or anyway, I know it was right on the and then UPS Flight Forward and please
UPS team. Congratulations.
Again, these are kind of we like to call them kind of the pathfinders, right? These exemptions are trying to pathfinders. We've got some others right behind this. We're still debating on at least one, that whether we do summary grant of existing or whether we do a new one. We're starting to think we might only have 3 buckets. And be able to modify those. But the goal here being is that we want to get out there, and this is where we'll learn for the rulemaking, right? Is allow these operations really be looking at what the conditions and limitations are, because let's be honest, if if we're learning about conditions and limitations, you can only imagine where those conditions and the limitations will end up. So it will be in the rulemaking somewhere. So the more we fly, the better we learn, the more we do this. And I thank you all for your perseverance with us on some of these. I know some of these have been a long road, but thank you very much for working with us and again, helping us learn, helping us meet the goals of the industry, and most importantly, our safety goal to the U.S. public.
That's great. So just to be crystal clear, so obviously congratulations to all the companies who received your exemptions. So moving on, so these exemptions have been published. So now the rest of our community can kind of take a look at what those conditions and limitations are in the exemptions that have been approved, and essentially apply with a much more streamlined process moving forward. That's the idea, is that we're trying to quicken, make it a more risk-appropriate analysis moving forward.
Right. And if you've got any questions in that process, Brandon or somebody in his team can certainly answer that. Yes, the goal here is streamlined, right? We're talking months, not years, right? So I'd like to think weeks, but I probably won't get there. But that's where we're at. We hope to be, and we want more operations. So if you're looking, if your business looks like something like those 3 exemptions we've just issued, then by all means, please get with us, and we'll see what we can do about a summary grant.
Excellent. Well, that's encouraging. Thank you, David, for that. So switching gears, I know something that's been on the minds of a lot of folks in this room has been remote ID. The implementation deadline is, of course, coming up here September 16th, I believe, for operators. Any updates there you can share?
Yeah, so you're going to get relief. It's just a matter of what that relief looks like, and we're in the final throes of across. This one's a little bit. It's not just an FAA thing; it's across government because of the security implications. So, there'll be relief, and it'll be before the 16th. We were just I was hoping to be able to say it was through the process, but it's a gauntlet. And it's somewhere in the gauntlet, but outside of the agency and outside of the department. So, we expect that release. You'll see it in the next couple of days, probably, hopefully, if Brandon can pull off his magic and cut it loose. But you'll see a public notice on that. So, and we'll get that out to you, and hopefully through some of your associations. Once we get that, we'll share that widely.
That sounds great. I know that comes as a relief to many in this room. There's been a lot of confusion about kind of how it's going to be implemented. So, I think the extra time will be helpful for the agency as well as for industry, so we can figure out. Obviously, we very much support the idea of remote identification, so that's not in question.
I mean, this is a supply chain issue. This is a there's only so many chips in the world, and we like to joke a little bit that we just made the traditional aircraft do a whole bunch of upgrades to their radar altimeters. So there's only so many pieces out there for parts and pieces for everyone. So we got it, but it takes us a minute to we have to wait pretty close to the time, and I'm not an excuse here because we could have done a little bit better. There's just a lot of internal things that have to happen. Once you make a rule and you set a date, it's not all that easy to change that date, but. We needed good data. We got that from you to find out how many folks were equipped. We can't just make it up and say, oh, well, we feel for you. We have to have data behind that. So we did reach out throughout the industry, got that data, and got that moving. So I know it's late in the game, but we will have relief.
Sounds great. Well, that is welcome. So thank you. Let's get a round of applause there. We've been heard. So you have, 4,000 folks from industry here. What message do you want to leave the innovators, entrepreneurs working closely with the FAA, working in partnership with you all? What should they walk out of this room with?
The more we know, the better we are, right, as an organization. It's tough sometimes. Our folks are heads down trying to get to the bottom, get these approvals out so you can operate in the National Airspace System, and I hope I'm not doing this too much of this. I can feel it, but anyway, we look at modern safety systems as a relationship built on trust and transparency, and that transparency piece is data. We need data, the good, the bad. We need to be able to establish. Our goal is use our own safety management system and say. Our decisions need to be risk-based. But without data, then our decisions are going to be different than they are with data. And we're going to take the conservative approach. That is our mantra, right? First and foremost is protection of life and property, right? So life more than anything. So we can't, we don't want to err. Our folks don't want to err on the side of we went too far. And without data, we can't sometimes we just don't hit the right spot. So, partner with us, collaborate with us, cooperate, and help us get the data we need and participate every opportunity you can. I know it's helpful to us we work with the associations all the time across the aviation. Those are great places for us to get consolidated information. And have those conversations with folks. So and you can just it's harder individually because it's just so many. Obviously, this room is full. To be able to meet you one-on-one, but whatever group you're in, and build a relationship with the FAA and let us know what's on your mind and what you're doing and what technology you're introducing, so that we can make those better decisions.
Great. Well, it is definitely on us to keep you all educated about the technology. We look forward, David, to showing you the show floor where you'll be able to touch and see and feel lots of this technology. We've been encouraged to see lots of folks on your team as well, traveling out to visit companies and actually seeing the technology in action. So if there's anything else that we can do from an industry perspective to help you succeed, we would love, keep us in the loop, because we definitely, your success is our success.
Well, and our push inside is to get out, right? So, we're coming out of this whole COVID piece. As a management team in AVS, it's really important to us to get out, get boots on the ground, go see what's going on, and get our folks out there and get used to what's happening. Because when you don't know, you default to no, right? When you do know, you're much more willing to look at this in an innovative way.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, David. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. Please join me in thanking David Boulter.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it.
All right.